Greg Jennings, a decade in the NFL, 7 with the Packers. Vikings, Dolphins, got a look too. A Fox Sports NFL analyst now joining us live. He's on First Things First, following the herd today at 3 Eastern, FS1. So we said yesterday is that if you really look at these organizations, they're all companies. And Green Bay is a well-run company. Drafting, developing, very rarely in chaos. It's a well-run company. The Jets in the last decade have finished last 7 times. They're not as well-run a company. So Aaron really essentially went from a well-run company with little chaos, some of it self-created, to a poorly run company. And yesterday, and this didn't happen in Green Bay much, Greg, his offensive line, it's duct taping on the tackles. They don't have any idea. And all of a sudden yesterday, it wasn't very good and it was a mess, and he pointed it out. So I have said I think that's the story this year. Aaron's never had bad protection. Your takeaway on maybe there were times maybe in Green Bay somebody's hurt, the protection eroded. Does that concern you about Aaron, 39 about to be 40, in front of a bad old line?
Well, it concerns me simply because his age and his deteriorating mobility.
Yes.
Not because he can't get outside the pocket and run, but because his willingness is not going to be as immediate to do it. Right. Like, naturally, you get an older guy and you know they've seen a lot of things. You don't want them to get pressured from the A and B gaps. That's right in the middle in the interior of the offensive line. And so with that being said, is it problematic? Of course. But is it something that Aaron Rodgers will be able to work around? Yes. Is it ideal? No. But when you have a veteran guy who's seen a lot from defensive pressures, you want them to get rushed from outside. And so I think with them being able to identify their issue now, it's better. Moving forward, they're going to have to address it, and they're hoping that they can address it. But he will be able to cover up a lot of those woes just because he's going to be able to get rid of the ball. It's not going to bode well for the guys on the perimeter because you're not going to be able to take 5-7-step drops and play action, and different things like that. That's where it's going to really come to bite them.
So, it's interesting. When it comes to young quarterbacks, I tend to believe, Greg, that I'm less patient today than 10 to 15 years ago because of the quarterback camps. They're getting more reps in high school. That I did believe you had to give an Eli Manning 3 full years. I don't believe that. I think by Thanksgiving of your second year, you got to have a sense of what you got. These kids now are playing football year-round. They've got quarterback coaches. The nutrition's different. And so I look at Jordan Love, and everybody's like, you got to give him 2 years. Well, Greg, same coach, same system, 3 years. I believe by Thanksgiving, people in that building have to make, because next year's a great quarterback draft. I think by Thanksgiving, 8-9 games, you got to kind of make a judgment. Is that unfair to you?
You're saying next year, not this year.
No, this year. By Thanksgiving, 9 games.
This year.
I'm going to know. I'm going to know something.
So for me, I look at Jordan Love in this situation as a guy that he's sat back, he's learned a lot, he's been around not only the organization, but a great quarterback where he can pull from and absorb some information and knowledge on what to do, what not to do, all these things. And so you're at an advantage from that perspective. Where he is at a disadvantage is because he hasn't been on the field enough. He hasn't been exposed to running an offense, it being his in totality. This is his chance and his opportunity. And for me, I think he's going to actually thrive. The problem is, because we've seen Aaron Rodgers and the history of the quarterbacking in Green Bay excel for so many years, it's going to be hard for us to not compare his, what we would identify success to meeting the standard that we have become accustomed to seeing in that green and gold uniform under center.
So let's say he throws for 23 touchdowns and 11 picks, 64% completion rating, 89 passer rating, 64% completion, 24 touchdowns, 11 picks, 23 touchdowns, and he's mobile. Do you think, okay, give him another year?
Yeah, we can work with that.
Okay.
We can work with that.
Okay.
I actually think he's going to be better than that this year. Those numbers, I do believe. I think he's going to be better than that. When you look at the lack of offensive production that we saw out of the Green Bay Packers, and obviously they got hot at the end of the season, Aaron Rodgers didn't have a tremendous year. Could Jordan Love do that? I felt like after that Dallas Cowboy, Philadelphia Eagles stretch where they lost a couple of those games, I thought they should have moved on and allowed Jordan Love to get some exposure and experience then.
Yeah.
Then you would have known walking into this season like what you at least have. Kind of like the Deshaun Watson where the Cleveland Browns saw him in the last 6 games. It's like, oh, wow, we really needed that because he was very rusty.
Yeah.
Now the expectations are you got a full off season, you got new guys around him. We know at least what we can't do, but we know at least what we have at the quarterback position.
All right, so this is one that you'll have good insight on with Favre and Aaron Rodgers. So it's not the end of the world, but there's a pretty clear correlation between the more you ask of Dak, the more mistakes he makes. His most efficient year was his first year in the league when Zeke was the best running back and the O-line was the best O-line. He had his highest passer rating. Last year he missed 4 games, and he led the NFL in picks. Why? The O-line was in a rebuild. Zeke was a shot fighter. Gallup wasn't as good as you thought and wasn't ready. So the more you ask, the more mistakes you get because he's a good quarterback. He's not a great one. So when he doubles down in camp and again has a massive interceptions, I know everybody's going to downplay it. But come on now. It has to mean, you know what? The other thing, Greg, practice means more now because starters don't play in the preseason. So coaches are ramping up the intensity of practice because they don't play starters anymore. Doesn't it mean something?
Yeah, absolutely it means something. When we look at those interceptions that we saw the other day, like this is ones versus ones. You don't get that often during the regular season. So when you try to get good on good, you want it to be competitive and in situational football during practice. That's what we're seeing with Dak Prescott. He's throwing interceptions against one of the best defenses in all of football, and it's not that he's underthrowing guys because we see the underthrows. It's the interception like the one that Van Der Esch, this one right here. You cannot do this.
Right.
This is elementary at the quarterback position. Pre-snap, he's staring down the defender in the area of which he wants to really go with the ball. Anyone can make this interception. We saw this last season, Colin. You can't have a veteran quarterback that has had success, that has not thrown interceptions in previous seasons, and then start doing these types of things when you have the personnel and the roster that can actually compete for a Super Bowl championship. You can't have your quarterback making these mistakes. So what that then does to a coaching staff and players alike, it forces them to want to do more. It forces them to challenge you as a quarterback. And then you start pressing even more because you're out to prove that, look, I can get this done. I've done it before. However, when we've seen Dak Prescott at his best, you hit the nail on the head. He's been asked to do less. He wasn't forced to throw the ball around the park. Like, Amari Cooper was such a benefit for Dak Prescott. We can downplay it as much as we want.
Yeah.
Losing Amari Cooper has hurt Dak Prescott.
Yes.
They talk about, in the Yahoo article that we listened to or we all read, it talked about the timing, the 3 steps, and receivers knowing the timing of the quarterback. Look, at the end of the day, everybody knows the timing. They know that things have to be done the right way. It's a matter of doing it and executing. Amari Cooper was a route technician and disciplined at what he needed to do.
Yep.
They no longer have that. They have really good receivers, but Dak Prescott, you can't make elementary mistakes with staring down defenders and giving your defense an opportunity to just get interceptions the easy way.
Oh, by the way, let's show the video again. I know I've been fascinated with this. My staff makes fun of me. I love practice video, but you don't get ones-on-ones. And if you watch the video of Dak Prescott, so the first one's up the right sideline, it is a bad overthrow, like a bad NFL veteran overthrow.
And you would think, just throw it away. Just throw it away.
Here's the other one.
You're flushed out of the pocket.
Underthrow.
This is an underthrow.
Perfect weather.
And the receiver The receiver has the Trayvon Diggs beat. If anything, you overthrow that shot. And this one is you can't do this. Because you get back into the film study. I'm being honest. You get back in the film study room and the coach is scratching his head like, what are you looking at?
Right.
When I start questioning what you're looking at pre-snap and prior to him getting that snap, he's looking over there already, and you have a flat route going out over there, and you know that it's an out route on top, you have a defender that's playing in that window. You can't, you're off that right away.
Yep.
Those are the mistakes he can't continue to make.
Greg Jennings bringing the heat on a Thursday. We love it. He'll be on Speak after us. As always, looks great, sounds great. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it, bud.
Absolutely.
You bet. Yeah, I mean, there was a throwaway, and then he stares the guy down. It's something. It's not everything, but it's not nothing. Hour 2 next. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.